Recording is in progress.
Thank you, Andrew. So as always, I do begin the day by acknowledging those who came before us on this land. So I do say a land acknowledgement. So we begin today by acknowledging that we walk upon the traditional territories of Indigenous peoples. We recognize their history, spirituality, culture, and stewardship of the land. We're grateful to all Indigenous groups for their commitment to protect the land and its resources, and we are committed to reconciliation, partnership, and enhanced understanding. We acknowledge the land we're meeting on here in the Greater Toronto Area is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Wendat, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Anishinaabes people, and is now home to many diverse peoples. We'd also like to acknowledge the land we're on here as the meeting place of two treaties, the lands of the Mississaugas of the Credit and those of the First Nations of the Williams Treaty. We'd like to thank them and other Indigenous peoples for sharing this land with us. We also acknowledge and recognize all the world's Indigenous peoples as stewards of Mother Earth. So as always, following the land acknowledgement, now I like to say Sawubona, which means I see you, I see myself in you, I see your hopes, your dreams, and your struggles, and I see your ancestors as well. Because interconnectedness does not end with two people who are greeting each other, it extends to include the ancestors. All beings and Mother Nature are interconnected. There is no sense of being separate. I see myself in all beings, and therefore, if I harm other beings or Mother Nature, it translates into harming myself. So the events that are coming up, just a few days ago actually was missed last week, but it was International Day of Cooperatives on Sunday, July 3rd, 2022, which has been marked by cooperatives worldwide since 1923 and officially proclaimed by the United Nations General Assembly on the centenary of the ICA in 1995. On July 2nd, 2022, cooperatives around the world celebrated the 100th anniversary or International Day of Cooperatives, Co-ops Day, a decade on from the UN International Day of a Year of Cooperatives, which showcased the unique contribution of cooperatives to making the world a better place. This year's Co-ops Day slogan was "Cooperatives Build a Better World," and echoed the theme of the International Year. Cooperatives are answering the wake-up call of UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, who warned that the world is on the edge of an abyss and moving in the wrong direction, and exclaimed that to restore trust, to inspire hope, we need cooperation, we need dialogue, we need understanding. So in the chat, I'm putting this information that I just read out as well, so people have those links. So on Friday, July 15th, which is actually one day after next week's IGU Summit, but I want to mention it today, is actually World Youth Skills Day, which in 2014, the United Nations General Assembly declared the 15th of July as World Youth Skills Day to celebrate the strategic importance of equipping young people with skills in employment, decent work, and entrepreneurship, as well as for the preservation of our planet and building up peaceful societies. Again, you'll see in the chat more information about World Youth Skills Day. So this will be followed actually a few days later by Nelson Mandela International Day. So this event is being organized by our colleague Juliet Miabo in UnityNet, South Africa. So the event is being done in alignment with the original 2019 Tree of Peace and Reconciliation tree planting event that was planted to celebrate both Global Cooperation Day and the Watering of the Fields of Humanity projects for Africa, which started in and around North Shore, Kenya. So the 2019 Tree of Peace and Reconciliation tree planting event done by Drawdown Markham and with We Energize Global Cooperation Turtle Island International Civil Society Organization. I will put some information into the chat about that event that took place meetings a few years ago as well. A little bit of a copy paste issue right there. I wanted to mention as well Nelson Mandela International Day, also known as Mandela Day, is an international observance in honor of the revolutionary Nelson Mandela and celebrated annually on his birthday, which was July 18th. The day was officially set by the UN in November 2009, and on July 18th every year, the UN invites Nelson Mandela International Day by making a difference in your communities and invites everyone who has the ability and the responsibility to change the world for the better. Included in the chat as well will be a link to our video, which we are now rounding the corner. We have Jeffrey Kukro on the line with us today. He was actually one of the people that made that video in the first place. I also want everybody to remember we want to do an IGU Summit special event on the subject of Indigenous unity, together with our counterparts in the United States, California, etc., and in Africa, as well as globally in all of our countries of the Global Unity Network. The special day has been earmarked for Thursday, October 6th, 2022, which is 6 days before Wednesday, October 12th, 30 years after Berkeley, California established Indigenous Peoples Day, 2 days after Global Cooperation Day, which is Tuesday, October 4th, when we'll be doing our Ubuntu Summit event to launch the Global Climate Smart Youth Forum Week, which concludes on Sunday, October 16th, World Food Day 2022. So I noted in the past few weeks of the IGU Summit, I'd like to invite the City of Berkeley and all of their local institutions, including the university and all corporations in California and the USA and across Canada and worldwide even, through the UN Global Compact, to also plant a tree of peace and reconciliation and raise an Indigenous unity flag in solidarity with all of the other communities around the world, including local communities here in Canada who will be doing the same. In other words, planting the trees and raising the flags and establishing our local INAB collaboratives and empowering their local FFHE in support of the globalization of the global goals and the practical implementation of the local solutions for achieving a productive, compassionate, collaborative, regenerative economy that leaves no one behind as we move forward to the next iteration of the global goals, the regenerative development goals that have been proposed from 2030 to 45. So the decision to have a different Indigenous Peoples Day aside from Canada's National Indigenous History Month here in Canada seems to be coming back to the old divide and conquer mentality and the colonial mindset, which continues and seems to be deliberate actions to divide people into us and them. It's the same mentality that we're trying to overcome within the communities of the Global Unity Network. One page that I mentioned last week that I really want to start activating locally here in Markham with the people and all our relations who live in the Don and Rouge watersheds, where I live, ahead of the Markham Tree of Peace and Reconciliation tree planting event and the Indigenous Unity Flag raising ceremonies that we want to do in 2023, is the Drawdown Markham Youth Task Force page, which we'll use to help establish a local committee for local action on achieving a productive, compassionate, collaborative, regenerative economy that leaves no one behind. So again, in the chat is the link to the initial Facebook page for that group. And of course, we can't forget our 2022 Ad Hoc International Advisory Board UnityNet Abraham Project tree planting that happened about a month ago. Our globally coordinated event took place on Sunday, June 5th, including here in the Greater Toronto area. We did two tree planting events in Mississauga. The first one at Meadowood Park with the support of the city of Mississauga, who donated 10 trees of peace and 5 different species. The second one at the Continental Dance Club with the support of their owner, Brian Torner, a world champion trainer and choreographer, a 15-time world championship adjudicator, and champion ballroom dancer. So again, you will see in the chat some information about these events. So the flag and Indigenous unity and the unity of humanity is far more important than our individual lives and the machinations of political leaders who just don't get it. Because most people don't understand it yet, that God, Mother Nature, or however you define it, loves all things on earth and in the universe equally. So we're beginning today to start preparing for next year's June 5th, 2023 World Environment Day planting in the city of Markham by working with my own city councillor, Issa Lee. We also work with our counterparts in Africa, in the USA, in California, and New York, such as through EdFood Foundation, African Coaches League, Cash Community Development, which is a Native American owned and managed 501(c)(3) nonprofit designed to address the financial needs of natives throughout the United States, including Alaska and Hawaii. We really want to make sure that for every tree of peace and reconciliation planted in the world, we have a commemorative flagpole erected beside the tree. We have an Indigenous unity flag raising ceremony at the time of the planting, along with a pledge of allegiance from the members of the local INAB collaborative to empower the local humanitarian entrepreneurs, or FFHE as we call them, who are implementing the local solutions to achieving the global goals locally. With the place where the flag and the tree are planted becoming sacred spaces in all of our communities and symbols of peace, reconciliation, forgiveness, compassion, collaboration, and regeneration. And the people involved in the community plantings signing this commitment to leave no one behind in their own local community, ensuring that those who pledge and commit to support us in all of our local communities will move forward together in support of decolonization and re-indigenization of our minds and our physical spaces in lockstep with all of the Indigenous peoples of the world. So we also did our third Tea Diplomacy Initiative event on Saturday, June 18th, which was Sustainable Gastronomy Day. So this was the last of the Tea Diplomacy event initiative events that we did scheduled for this year, unless of course our friends at Global Peace Let's Talk or the Global Forum for Sustainable Rural Development wish to do more Tea Diplomacy Initiative events throughout the rest of the year, such as during the October Global Climate Smart Youth Forum Week, which is from October 4th to 16th. I will again put more information about these events into the chat. You'll also see the most recent Tea Diplomacy event that we did on Saturday, May 21st, which was International Tea Day and the World Day for Cultural Diversity for Dialogue and Development. So as I am putting more information and links into the chat for all of these caves. Second here. So there are a few.
Lloyd, I'm not sure if things were, the slideshow was supposed to advance, but it's not been advancing as well.
We have not actually started our slideshow.
Okay, good. All right.
This is our preliminary events coming up. So I may add some slides specifically for the events that we do, but that has not been something we have done at this point in time. But I could now start the show. Just give me a second. Get my presentation started. Share screen. So, as always, I do like to start this presentation by giving recognition to our supporters and sponsors, in particular, Andrew Networks, the door opening network of our global Unity network, which we're calling UnityNet. During these weekly Thursday Zoom calls, we are committed to taking place through December 2023. So Andrew Networks is also rebroadcasting these production-ready episodes on AHIABGA.org domain, being redirected to the UCIT-TV site. You'll also notice that the logo we have indicates that this is 21 to 23 IGU Summit event. We do plan on continuing to deliver these Thursday events until the end of 2023 in alignment with the UN Global Compact 21 to 23 vision and strategy. Again, in the chat, you'll find the links for more information. But on this page, you will see logos as well for Maui Aloha Project, the 5 Points Youth Foundation, the Ad Hoc International Advisory Board of Goodwill Ambassadors, Future Lift Foundation, Global Peace Let's Talk, the American International Education Federation, EDFU Foundation, the Conservancy Trust, the SAGA Foundation, the LA Global Foundation, as well as our own logos for the Tree of Peace and Reconciliation and the Greater Unity Network, the Indigenous Unity flag, the Unity 4K clubs, the Hefta Matrix partnership template of UnityNet International, and many others as well. Again, in the chat are some links to the relevant organizations. And I will just put a couple more here as well. Moving forward. It is Andrew Networks that I want to always remind people that who donates our hosting and promotional support services. Andrew Networks is a brand domain name owned by ParXDC Export Trading Company, comprising the various social media channels, including TRN TV, Universal Citizens Media Networks, Conversations with Andrew Williams Jr., and many, many more. Andrew Networks is not only our primary sponsor supporting the promotional ecosystem for the UnityNet initiative, this Indigenous Global Unity Summit, which continues through December 2023. But Andrew is also our what we call Yes, Yes, Yes partner, helping to open doors so that members of our network are able to discover their inner selves and passions. And where Andrew Networks is working with the people who occupy the various nodes of our global unity network so they can come together with the people of the network acting like a net to support the dreams of the members. So they can leverage those passions, transform their visions of a better future for themselves and their communities into a reality that makes sense for both themselves and their communities, however they might define what that better future is, collectively, as they seek to work together in partnership and leave no one behind. Again, in the chat is some preliminary information. Andrew likely has some updates as well. Andrew did also found the Ad Hoc International Advisory Board of Goodwill Ambassador Advocates and Activists in September 2019 with a focus on globalizing SDGs during this decade of action and delivery on the Sustainable Development Goals from 2020 to 2030. Andrew later appointed me as representative for Canada, La Francophonie, and Commonwealth of Nations countries, originally published in January 1st, 2020, and later as a representative for Turtle Island in early 2021. Again, there's a link to the Ad Hoc International Advisory Board of Goodwill Ambassadors as well. So I do need to introduce myself, Lloyd Helferty, the Chief Ecosystem Director, Program Development Director, and Sustainable Society Consultant for Energy University, headquartered in Manhattan, New York, USA. I am located in the city of Markham in the Don River watershed, a German Mills Creek subwatershed, which drains into Lake Ontario, the lowest and last of the Great Lakes of North America in the Greater Toronto Area in Southern Ontario, Canada, North America, Turtle Island. Energy University is a private 501(c) nonprofit company in New York, a member of the UN Global Compact, a UN academic impact member and partner. EnergyMU is a virtual university created to help empower global populations reestablish a sustainable balance with their local environments. So EnergyM does this by designing and implementing projects that support a strong and diversified local economy while integrating core sustainable technologies and infrastructure into the communities in the areas of renewable energy, high-density food growth solutions along with systems for sustainably managing local waste streams and protecting local water resources. So Energyme is supported by over 375 companies whose products and technologies we employ. Importantly, Energyme University supports local education and training in the construction, deployment, and maintenance of all of the various integrated solutions for achieving closed-loop systems that in turn support self-sufficient, sustainable communities. In the chat, you will find my information, so you can contact me as well. So I am the co-founder, administrator of the We Energyme Global Cooperation Turtle Island International Civil Society Organization. We are seeking to undertake what we call life value peace education in the context of life gardens. So the link you see on the page there is also in the chat. As mentioned, I was also designated as a Goodwill Ambassador for the 5 Points Youth Foundation Los Angeles, with a portfolio that covers Canada, La Francophonie, the Commonwealth of Nations, and Turtle Island communities. So as a member of the Ad Hoc International Advisory Board of Goodwill Ambassadors and Activists, we are seeking to empower our communities to engage with royal, Indigenous, and tribal leadership, as well as helping local communities establish interfaith neighborhood academic and business collaboratives, INAP collaboratives, that will come together and pledge to support all of the local humanitarian entrepreneurs who are localizing the global goals, starting with the Sustainable Development Goals, while also seeking ways to leave no one behind. Again, in the chat is a link to the Ad Hoc International Advisory Board and its affiliated organizations. So I am the co-founder of the Global Unity Network, which is being established by UnityNet International, or UNI, which helped to create UnityNet Africa and Diaspora, UNAD, and all of the global groups in Asia, and Americas, and Europe. The Global Unity Business Group originally came together as a coalition of small businesses in order to establish, manage, and grow the Global Unity Network, now referred mostly as UnityNet. So as a result of the original Global Unity Business Group, which I had been describing originally as a humanitarian enterprise, global sustainable and regenerative development corporation, supporting and promoting the local delivery of open source, regenerative, climate smart infrastructure, set up as Life Learning Gardens, along with a hybrid virtual learning platform we call the VCN, or the Interchange for Peace. We're now being rebranding our corporation as UnityNet International, in alignment with our first continental chapter, UnityNet Africa and Diaspora. So while the original Global Unity Business Group was created in order to formalize the Ad Hoc International Advisory Board process of localization of the global goals, starting with the SDGs, done by the establishment of the Global Unity Network, UnityNet, which includes Unity Gardens and the Unity Learning Network, along with many other dedicated UnityNet nodes and chapters, all important components of our networks. The latest way I describe who we are is as a network of people and organizations supporting the Ad Hoc International Advisory Board process of localization of the global goals, currently the SDGs, and the global transition to a productive, compassionate, collaborative, regenerative economy that leaves no one behind. Essentially, we're creating a global empowerment network of professionals in regenerative development to support all of the members, including our female and feminist humanitarian entrepreneurs who are helping to implement the various local regenerative climate smart solutions that are required to achieve a productive, compassionate, collaborative, regenerative economy that leaves no one behind. So our humanitarian entrepreneurship is defined as a social enterprise that focuses on the delivery of various solutions for achieving the Sustainable Development Goals, or the global goals, locally. UnityNet is establishing a hybrid infrastructure for delivering the learning programs, the education, the training that provides local humanitarian entrepreneurs with the appropriate knowledge, tools, and processes they need to help implement the Sustainable Development Goals locally within their own local communities, with the goal of leaving no one behind. So it's important to note the existing social media, WhatsApp, Facebook, LinkedIn groups that we're using right now are being used as a placeholder as we want to build the global network, prepare it to launch eventually get all of the people, companies, nodes of the network onto what we call this interchange for peace, or ECN, where we'll then be able to gain access to the many tools and services available there, where we can much more easily collaborate in order to locally implement all of these globally coordinated events, projects, enterprises, and real-world infrastructure. Again, in the chat is links to our social media from the Global Unity Business Group, now called UnityNet International. So the Global Unity Network, UnityNet, also created to showcase local cooperation for the implementation of the local regenerative solutions for achieving global goals, started with the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. So our goal is really to help uplift the traditionally marginalized communities that are mostly being left behind, because the existing economic paradigm is focused on making money for those who are already wealthy by extracting resources through the exploitation, usually the over-exploitation of people in the natural world, and therefore the majority of people on Earth are mostly being ignored by our existing highly competitive economy. Our focus is on the billions of people who exist, or rather subsist, on the economic sidelines, where we intend to start our work by helping local communities deliver the various local regenerative and climate-smart enterprise solutions that people and communities in some of the least developed countries, communities, and local economies require in order to thrive. As an entry point, we are focused in particular on those communities that are the most food insecure. Again, there are some links as well in the chat. So UnityNet is promoting the delivery of a suite of practical solutions for achieving the global goals, starting with the SDGs during this period until 2030. We are focused on the tools of humanitarian entrepreneurship, focusing on those female and feminist humanitarian entrepreneurs and enterprises, the FFHE, and using hybrid, virtual, and hands-on education, training, and learning programs, platforms, and curricula, with a focus on delivery of the various humanitarian entrepreneurship skills training in the practical settings, in other words, practical learning, along with leveraging the open source regenerative climate smart infrastructure solutions to remotely assist local INAP collaborative teams, establish the local open source Unity Garden classrooms in all of the local communities around the world, where the Unity Garden classrooms are set up in collaboration with existing schools and local communities and can be used for the local and remote and virtual delivery of the practical learning programs for all of those FFHE members, so they can learn how to grow, process, cook, market, sell, and trade the various types of regenerative climate smart food and related nutritional, and medicinal, and other types of locally produced regenerative products, both within their own local communities, as well as regionally, nationally, continentally, and even internationally, in order to produce income and greater prosperity for themselves and for the people in their own local communities, for all the people on all continents, with the intention and goal, again, of leaving no one behind. I'd like to put at this point in the chat the Unity Smart Cities Network link as well. So we also promote through our virtual social marketing all of the members of our network. We use the various practical social media, networking, and trade tools, including those of the modern Fourth Industrial Revolution. We're combining the wisdom of crowds with the deep Indigenous knowledge of our ancestors and the living Indigenous people of the earth, in order to learn from each other about how to share the abundance of this planet in order to create productive, regenerative, climate smart landscapes wherever we may live, in and around each and all of our local communities. So our intention is also to help restore nature and biodiversity, to ensure abundance for all, and ultimately restore the human connection to Mother Earth as proper stewards of our one and only beautiful planet. In the chat, the link to the Unity Biodiversity Network. So the Ad Hoc International Advisory Board process of localization of the global goals is intended to help everyone in each of their own local communities establish local teams of humanitarian entrepreneurs, as well as the local community empowerment networks, the INAP collaboratives, that will provide support and ensure the success of the local cooperative humanitarian enterprises who are building the Unity Gardens. So the Unity Gardens are intended to be established in each local community across the global network, most likely starting in Africa, but also here in North America and in Asia as well. The process of establishing the local INAP collaboratives is done by taking part in the Abraham Project, where we plant the tree of peace and reconciliation. We do ceremonies starting on Sunday, June 5th, World Environment Day, but continuing through planting seasons locally wherever we are. So some communities also establishing twin trees of peace and reconciliation and twin unity gardens and INAP collaboratives as well. The twinning or thinning or even quadrinning or more will be done through the CTP program, which is a process of twinning the local community unity garden humanitarian enterprises and twinning the local community INAP collaboratives. So we're building here a global network of local INAP collaboratives where all of the members in each local community empowerment network will be interconnected and watching over and talking to each other at the global level, where each local INAP collaborative has a diverse set of members from 7 different sectors in every community. We have, by definition, the HEPTA Matrix Partnership, the public, private, civil society, academic, interfaith, finance, and orange economy, and or the creative sector, who will all be watching, promoting, helping each other, and supporting the local female and feminist humanitarian entrepreneurs in each local community, who will be empowered by all of the members of the Global Unity Network, where all activities are also intended to be transparent. All members of the Global Unity Network, including all members of local INAP collaboratives, will also be accountable to and for the success of the local collaborative Unity Garden humanitarian enterprise in each of their own local communities. This means that if the local female and feminist humanitarian entrepreneurs who are living in the local communities fail to be successful as they build and run their local collaborative or cooperative community Unity Garden humanitarian enterprise, their business, provided that they are fully dedicated to making it successful for all members of the community, and especially for those who are most marginalized in each of their own local communities. It will not be entirely at their own shoulders alone, barring unforeseen circumstances, like the insurance industry says, lawyers like to say as well, acts of God. But rather, the failures could also be partly put on the shoulders of the local community INAP collaborative members for not living up to their obligations to support and empower the local community humanitarian and entrepreneurs who would be building, operating, maintaining, and delivering all the various community programs, events, interventions, goods, and services that would be delivered in the context of their local community Unity Garden humanitarian enterprise. So I have been suggesting as well that every community Unity Garden humanitarian enterprise should also be established as a cooperative enterprise or business, where the idea is to set up the local community business as a co-op so that the burden of running the business doesn't fall entirely on the shoulders of a single entrepreneur, although different business models can be tried in order to determine what model might actually work best. Again, in chat are some links to cooperative enterprises. So the INAP collaborative model we're creating, established at the local level, where we're leveraging our process of community engagement through the planting of the trees of peace and reconciliation, those ceremonies, along with the Indigenous Unity flag raising, followed by the ongoing community engagement and interaction through the regularly scheduled events we have throughout the year, including the coordinated bubble fun festivals and sports and dancing, done in collaboration with the local INAP collaborative members. The CTP program for twinning community activities, the community organized tree plantings, and the local regenerative public community infrastructure development projects and events, the Tea Diplomacy Initiative, the virtual community conversations on topics of peace, regeneration, reconciliation, and forgiveness, the Dream Boards Initiative, done in collaboration with the C4 group, along with identification of engagement with the local talent, the artists, the creative people in the orange economy, for the purpose of promoting and showcasing their talent, especially if they promote the globalization of the global goals and the idea of a compassionate, collaborative, regenerative economy that leaves no one behind through their art, especially during any one of our periodic sunlight spectacle or other edutainment events throughout the year. So any other programs or activities can be developed in the context of the Climate Smart Gardens and Forests, along with the Climate Smart Kitchens and the Wheel of Life Farms, along with the Spark Learning Centers, or the Climate Smart Learning Centers delivered by the PodNet Co-op. I did put this slide because for those who may have seen this before, the local INAP collaboratives are now being expanded to try to include more critical partners, including Bridges of Hope organization from Kenya, focused on the training of the FFHEs in the various regenerative climate smart businesses and infrastructure solutions. Possibly also BEMA International, the Black Emergency Managers Association, which would help to bring together first responders like police, firefighters, paramedics from the local community in order to help prepare the local entrepreneurs and enterprises and potentially position their businesses as hubs for taking action during emergencies or significant incidents that may happen in the community. I also included a placeholder for a virtual cultural exchange office of UnityNet Africa and Diaspora, established for the purpose of mutually supporting each of our own local communities, including the FFHE and the rest of the local INAP collaboratives and their members, wherever it is each of us might live. Again, in the chat is links to the UnityNet GTA, which this model is being built on. So we have done 3 diplomacy events already, starting during the week of solidarity with the people struggling against racism and racial discrimination from March 21st to 27th. We did the first one on March 21st, which is a Monday, the International Day for the Elimination of Racial Discrimination, which also happened to be World Poetry Day and the International Day of Forests. So the first tea diplomacy event included having conversations related to methods and processes of enabling and implementing solidarity with the people struggling against racism and racial discrimination, as well as discussing the local poets and poetry that have influenced local cultures in each respective community, wherever participants in the local discussions were living, along with these virtual discussions around the importance of establishing productive forests as biodiversity, polyculture, food forests, established as Unity Forest, Unity Gardens in all of our local communities, managed in partnership with local Indigenous peoples and all levels of government in every local community in the country as an essential part of a process of practical reconciliation with all of the Indigenous peoples of the world, one country, one community, and one watershed at a time. So we did this event already, of course, and usually I do play the poem that was played during our first tea diplomacy event, about 2.5 minutes long. But again, for the purpose of making my presentation shorter, I'll skip it. It was read by the poet Jack Black God from a squatter camp VBC called Diepsloot, north of Johannesburg in South Africa. And I will put into the chat some links to that event as well. Second. So we have now also completed our first 3 virtual tea diplomacy initiative events. We did ask leaders during these events, these high-level decision makers that we sit down with virtually, to have a cup of tea with some of our UnityNet members at the grassroots who are living and working in the various marginalized communities around the world. The opposite, the conversations that we asked our participants to discuss during these moderated virtual casual conversations between the sustainable development decision makers, the professionals, and our grassroots members who are doing some of the on-the-ground work in those local communities in the Global Unity Network were related to 3 themes that I mentioned, shown on the previous slide. I wanted to mention 3 events co-hosted by UnityNet International, which is building the network on behalf of the Ad Hoc International Advisory Board of Goodwill Ambassadors and Activists, along with the Global Forum for Sustainable Rural Development and Global Peace Let's Talk. For the same time, rather than playing the music of Nubia M, a song called Tulan Lizio, I will just put the translated lyrics of the song into the chat. So the song is about 4.5 minutes long. In It is our theme song for the Tea Diplomacy Initiative. I'll be probably playing it during future special events as well, along with the poem by Jack Black God. However, I'll not be playing the files today during these IGU Summit events. So rather than just listing all of the partners during the Tea Diplomacy events, I'm going to show their logos for now. You can go to the original Tea Diplomacy event right pages and find out more about them. Going to be links in the chat. I do want to mention, though, a few partners who are key, including Andrew Networks, We Energize Global Cooperation Turtle Island, Drawdown Markham Climate Change Solutions Education and Training Hub, the Indigenous Global Unity Network, Coverage Shot Earth Sustainable Marketplace for Climate Solutions, Tots and Kids South Africa, Japoa Uganda, and UnityNet International, our humanitarian enterprise and global sustainable regenerative development corporation, along with the organizations that, of course, continue to support and promote this IGU Summit, including the 5 Points Youth Foundation, Edgar Foundation, Tree-Led Foundation, and Cycle of Success. Of course, Andrew Networks being the person who is hosting our event today as well. So in the chat, you'll find many of these links as well to these organizations. 1 second, there, so people have it. We do want to, at all 3 diplomacy events every year, including on May 21st, International Tea Day, and the World Day for Cultural Diversity for Dialogue and Development, which celebrates the richness of the world's cultures and the essential role of intercultural dialogue for achieving peace and sustainable development. We also, on June 18th, had Sustainable Gastronomy Day, where we partner with a number of UnityNet chapters and nodes, as well as outside organizations like the Plant-Based Climate Smart Food Network, the South Markham Food Security Network, and the Virtual Urban Food and Farming Network as well. Again, in the chat, I put some additional information, especially about International Tea Day, so you can learn more about it. I also include some information about the UnityNet Culture and Diversity discussion that we have, along with Sustainable Gastronomy Day and the Virtual Urban Food and Farming Network as well. In the chat, in addition to that, is some information about World Day for Cultural Diversity for Dialogue and Development, which is described as an occasion to promote culture and highlight the significance of its diversity as an agent of inclusion and positive change. So the second and third Tea Diplomacy events are also complete. Doesn't mean we're finished our yearly events by any means. We're looking to develop more partnerships for our future events. So if you want to promote your local civil society organization, your NGO, your humanitarian enterprise, don't hesitate to contact me so that UnityNet International, including the African Diaspora Continental Network, can also promote the work that you're doing to localize the global goals in your own local community. Again, in the chat are some additional links that are relevant. So I want to mention the collaborative events that we're doing in 2022 are related to the activities of UnityNet, which includes the Unity Gardens, the Unity Learning Networks, along with the Unity Eco Village, Unity Biodiversity Networks, and many other critical networks, including the first globally coordinated Abraham Project Tree of Peace and Reconciliation Showcase project that we did for global cooperation. That was delivered locally in multiple local communities by the members of the Global Unity Network on World Environment Day at the beginning of last month, Sunday, June 5th. So here in Canada, this was done in the city of Mississauga in 2 different locations with a total of 11 trees planted. The process of planting the trees of peace and reconciliation during those ceremonies allowed us to begin establishing a global network of local INAP collaboratives, these interfaith neighborhood academic and business collaboratives that will lead the way at the local level everywhere around the world to undertaking the various globally coordinated events that we plan to do during the rest of the year and all subsequent years as well. Again, in the chat are some links to the Unity Network. An important event as well coming up. The launch event will be followed by this globally coordinated Bubble Fun Festival event that will be designed to allow youth and families to have fun while they learn about the miraculous properties of bubbles, especially how to use bubbles to potentially allow humanity to more easily adapt, perhaps even to thrive in a warming and changing global climate, especially in those areas of the world where the impacts of global warming and climate change will be felt the most severely, including here in Canada, especially in the north, as well as in mountainous areas, and of course in places like sub-Saharan Africa and South and Southeast Asia, and many more places around the world. I wanted to remind people on this call that the dates for the globally coordinated community Bubble Fun festivals are between August 9th, the International Day of the World's Indigenous Peoples, also the International Day of Solidarity with the Struggle of Women in South Africa and Namibia, also known as National Women's Day, with the event following through to August 19th, World Humanitarian Day, and finally on August 12th, International Youth Day. So we can have those local Bubble Fun festivals on any date between August 9th and 19th, which is an 11-day window. So again, in the chat are links to all of these events and observances. So other key events that we do include the Ubuntu Summit virtual event on October 4th, which is Global Cooperation Day, just as we did it last year. This day is also the feast days of St. Francis of Assisi and the Blessing of the Animals Day, which are both celebrated by the Catholic faith community. Again, that is kind of like last year's event. But one of the most important events of the year is the globally coordinated Climate Smart Youth Forum event, designed to allow youth and families from around the world to learn about and discuss the various regenerative climate smart agriculture and food growing solutions that support achieving SDG 2, zero hunger, and local circular regenerative economies that leave no one behind. People attending the hybrid events will learn about the Climate Smart Food Program, all of the various components of the ad hoc International Advisory Board process of localization of the global goals, and the smart infrastructure, including the hands-on community gardens and virtual interchange for peace VCN, where the combination of the two solutions allows the local community INAP collaboratives and the local humanitarian entrepreneurs who are running the Unity Gardens, the cooperatives, to gain access to all of the learning programs, the information, the education, the training, all of the related support programs, empowerment programs, including the financial support systems that we've been promoting through the Global Unity Network. These are the empowerment programs that will allow for our local community members and families to implement the local regenerative climate smart humanitarian infrastructure and enterprise solutions in the context of their own neighborhoods and communities, wherever they might live in the world. I want to mention just one last thing on this slide is we decided last year that the primary host for the Global Climate Smart Youth Forum Week 2022 event would be Yelly International in Nigeria, working in partnership with UnityNet Nigeria and UnityNet Africa and Diaspora, as well as many of the rest of the members of the Global Unity Network, as is possible, who may wish to contribute to its success. So Yelly International divided into two arms with the youth education and the leadership initiative. So Yelly International is managed by a gentleman from UnityNet Nigeria named Dr. Amadou Monday Amadou. So again, in the chat are more links to the relevant discussion groups and social media as well. And finally, an optional event this year, we can't be sure if we can move ahead anywhere in the world right away, especially since we're still in the process of establishing the INAP collaboratives, those local teams in all our local communities that would be doing the globally coordinated community tree planting events designed to establish those tabooed forests and other infrastructure in the local communities around the world. So these events are intended to be done in all the local communities where the local UnityNet INAP collaboratives have been established, where the members of the local community partnerships wish to establish Unity Forest, Unity Gardens, designed for delivering the global Unity learning programs, like the Tukitani EV Women Empowerment Programs, or the Global Unity 4K Club Humanitarian Entrepreneurship Learning Programs for educating young people, their families, and other community members about the various ways of achieving climate and food and nutrition security goals. So SDG 13, climate action, SDG 2, zero hunger, at minimum in all of our local communities. Of course, we also want local community members to start implementing many of the other global goals through their community enterprises, because this is what humanitarian entrepreneurship is about, taking local action in the local communities for achieving the global goals. These includes biodiversity action, the life on land goals, the gender equality action, the clean water action, the clean energy action, the peace actions, and of course, the no poverty actions. With the local community members coming together through those INAP collaboratives in order to empower the local compassionate, collaborative, and passionate community humanitarian enterprises and entrepreneurs who are dedicated to leaving no one behind in their local communities. And I want to say again that these last globally coordinated Unity Forest, Unity Garden tree planting events could potentially be done during the proposed Climate Smart Youth Forum Week, which will likely also include a number of different hybrid in-person and virtual conference events, including the Global Climate Smart Youth Forum event on World Food Day, which is October 16th. Again, a few more links in the chat for some of the relevant networks. I mentioned, as always, the Unity Gardens of UnityNet encourage co-learning and intercultural collaboration, what is called two-eyed seeing. Unity Gardens are places where children are taught no one being is greater than the next. We are part and parcel of the whole. We are all equal, that each one of us has a responsibility to the balance of the system and an understanding that all of the world's species, including all of our bio and eco-kin, have contributions to make to the fabric of life on this planet. I'd like everyone to understand the two-eyed seeing and to optimum guiding principle for intercultural collaboration, which can be read at the websites that are in the chat as well. So I mentioned again the UnityNet International Honey Project proposal made during the Risley Poverty Alleviation pilot project that was managed, or that is managed by the Risley Institute in collaboration with UnityNet International and the Ad Hoc International Advisory Board. The Unity Honey Project is designed to demonstrate the production of certified climate smart honey produced from wildflowers grown on restored landscapes, such as former mine sites or other industrial or currently degraded lands, in order to produce abundance and revenue from what was once wasteland. So the Unity Honey Project is a bee honey harvesting project intended to support the Science for Peace CSF program, or food certification and demonstration of PAGI payments paid to producers of certified products that are produced by the female and feminist humanitarian entrepreneurs, especially in support of and in partnership with local communities, including Indigenous communities. The Unity Honey Project, designed as something that could potentially be universally applied in a number of different jurisdictions, no matter what country or continent or local community. So the project ties in the Abraham Project process of integrating the CTP program for twinning or threading the local communities into the Ad Hoc International Advisory Board localization process, starting with the planting of trees of peace and reconciliation, and undertaking local community ceremonies that help to bring together all of the 7 local partners that will establish the local INAP collaboratives in each local community who will, from the moment forward after planting the trees and raising the flag, be dedicated to empowering the local FPHEs who work together closely with the members of the local INAP collaboratives. So the UnityNet project, more information can be found in the chat. Before we sign up, I do want to invite our guest speakers to join us after this video. I wanted to share with everyone today, again, the message for our education system from a gentleman by the name of Radhana Swami. I played this video. It is about 5 minutes long, but contains many important messages about things like compassion, kindness, integrity, inner beauty, happiness, character, values, leadership, and success, love and hope, and the understanding of the true meaning of success. So as I go forward, I will play this video.
What is happening to our system of education? It is said 50 years ago, some of the major problems in schools included sticking chewing gum under tables, talking in class, and missing deadlines. Today, our schools face gun and knife crime, bullying, and dangerous levels of stress, drug abuse, depression, and suicide. To effectively address the serious challenges that our children face, we need to consider not only the problems with individual students, but the very system of education that they are subjected to. Academic intelligence may make a child successful in the world, but compassion will make them useful. When we teach values alongside academics, we will find that children will be much happier, more successful, and will develop into great leaders that will change the future of our world. The word education is derived from the Latin word educare, which means to lead out or to bring out from within. Education is actually about bringing out the unique individual potential of every child, teaching them how to approach the hurdles, shortcomings, and setbacks of life, while empowering them to be vehicles of love and hope for the world. It is said, if you lose your wealth, you lose nothing. If you lose your health, you lose something. But if you lose your character, you lose everything. Without stressing these truths, the opposite will be understood by default. That is, if you lose your character, you lose nothing. If you lose your health, you lose something. If you lose your wealth, you lose everything. It should be a top priority of our education system to ensure that our children get this right. Imagine an education system where children are taught that the only time we should look down on someone is if we can help them up. Imagine a system where children are taught to judge beauty by what is within people's heart, not by their physical appearance. Imagine a system where character is given as much importance as competence, where children are taught that helping 1 billion people is even more valuable than being a billionaire, where as well as learning to raise their standard of living, they are also taught to increase their standard of giving. where children are taught to measure their success by how happy and fulfilled they are, and not how many letters they have after their names. An education system where developing intelligence goes hand in hand with developing compassion. Imagine if, as well as learning the history of our world, they are given the skills to change the future of it. Imagine if, as well as learning to navigate the world, they learn how to navigate their own minds. This is not an imagination. It is possible if we genuinely begin to value kindness over competence, character over success, and integrity above money. And in this way, change the system in which our children grow and learn.
So I'd like to mention as well, Dr. Amadou Monday Amadou before reminded us that the process of change is like a revival, and together we can indeed make the world a better place. And that positive change begins with you and I. Everyone can start something, even if it's small. We will still be able to create the kind of change the world needs. If each one helps one as this world goes around, it can be made free from social problems. So we in the Global Unity Network through UnityNet International are promoting humanitarian entrepreneurship and a future regenerative economy, which encompasses the concept of collaborative entrepreneurship, a collaborative economy, and collaborative businesses. Cooperatives and such types of businesses are part of that. So the empowerment networks that we're building in all of the local communities through the ceremonies of the planting of the trees of peace and reconciliation and the raising of the Indigenous unity flags are intended to support and empower such types of local community cooperative enterprises and the FFHE who wish to establish and operate them. So we believe that productive, compassionate, collaborative, regenerative economy can achieve far more positive outcomes for far more people, far faster than a purely competitive economy as it exists today. Of course, to keep prices down, there needs to be some competition within sectors, especially for those who are providing the same or similar goods and services in the same community. But we do encourage competition rather than pure competition, which has a winner takes all mentality. So we want our members to support each other's mutual success so that no one is left behind. We call this Ubuntu in business. And in the chat, you will find a link to this philosophy, which is embedded within the Energy and Global Cooperation Turtle Island International Civil Society Organization. So just finishing up here. In summary, the Global Unity Network, UNAD, Uni, is an empowerment network globally connected through as a network of local networks. Unity and UNAD are here to help all of our members because we want the local cooperative humanitarian enterprises to thrive. This means the Unity Gardens that our female and feminist humanitarian entrepreneurs secure and develop should be supported by all of the members, organizations who are part of the local INAP collaboratives, along with the rest of the people and organizations that are members of the global network. We want our people to get to the table, to show up to the meetings where the decisions are being made. So this is part of what UnityNet is about, creating. So we have representation at the meetings where decisions are being made, especially every time there's a discussion about funding. We should be recognized for our participation. As one of the members of the network, Prophet Cox, like to say, Andrew has said this many times as well, if you're not at the table, you are on the menu. We also need to help get those who are the most marginalized people in our network trained and empowered so they can also go with us to these meetings and discussions about funding. This means the youth, the elders, the rural, the homeless, the refugees. Because it is they who should be sitting and sharing their voice, using the language of holistic, collaborative, regenerative development localized to empower the people in the local communities, especially on behalf of others who have been marginalized. Can I ask if this person could be muted? Thank you. The network allows us to disseminate the information, the invitations to the various events, so that everyone in our network has the opportunity to participate and find a seat at the table. But they must be empowered, and they must have confidence and must choose to sit down at those meetings. So again, in connection to our global objectives, there are good, simple global UnityNet values we want to continuously promote alongside the humanitarian entrepreneurship, the life value peace education, as we call it. I want to mention the UnityNet and our members support people, our humanitarian entrepreneurs, our members in their local communities, and as well all our relations, not corporations or faceless entities that lack empathetic souls. I wanted to note recently as well in our UnityNet discussions that I'm sure this will happen because the next generation of children is counting on us. So we can't deny them this fulfilling life of plenty if we use up the earth for ourselves in this generation, instead of thinking of them and their future. I can't imagine that us humans are really that selfish. I also wanted to mention the Energy University Sustainable Planet platform, unfortunately still under development, but Sustainable Planet intends to teach values alongside academic skills and collaboration, empowering young people to change the world through love and compassion, the practical skills in regenerative design. Importantly, though, the Global Unity Network is building this network on the backbone of We Energen Global Corporation Turtle Island and our original partnership between We the World, Energen University, and Global Cooperation Day, doing within Energen University in particular, taught through the learning programs delivered through the Global Unity Network and the Unity Gardens are the concepts of regenerative design as a professional discipline. This means essentially applied life value peace education, and above all else, a compassionate philosophy that matters as much, if not more, than the technical skills. Because, of course, this is about changing the system of education that we have, because we know that when we teach values alongside academics, we do find that children and adults will be much happier, more successful, will develop into great leaders that will change the future of our world for the better, if we could just find a way to bring out the unique talents and potential of each and every child, while empowering them to become vehicles of love, because we know love will always conquer hate. So again, in the chat is some original links, including now a link to a YouTube video where our primary goal and tool is actually the partnerships for the goals that we set out for ourselves as humans, and where the lessons are learned through the delivery of this embedded understanding of the Ubuntu, shown to our youth by our own example, where we are delivering the learning by using the tools of mentorship and humanitarian entrepreneurship. It's a global collaboration of people who are dedicated to employing and deploying the local solutions for achieving a productive, compassionate, collaborative, regenerative economy that leaves no one behind. So with our big mandate for a better world, a better future, mentoring the next generation of youth leaders. So finally, we have the end of today's introduction. I would mention as well, one of the reasons for doing all this work, we are having these events, building our network of networks, UnityNet, so that we can be assembling all of the experts skilled in implementing the local solutions for achieving productive, compassionate, collaborative, regenerative economy that leaves no one behind. Because UnityNet International, UnityNet as well, we do understand it's through these partnerships as per SDG 17 that we'll be able to succeed. We also have been doing our work in the spirit of Ubuntu, because we only have about 7.5 years left until 2030, at the end of the period of the so-called SDGs. All indications are that we are in a worse situation globally than we were at the start of 2015 when the SDGs began. So with food insecurity globally on the rise, not getting better, with carbon emissions rising every year, global warming, climate change is not going away. Inflation is now happening around the world, especially with the wars and the droughts and the continuing soil degradation, loss of habitats, or loss of biodiversity. We do need to come together, all of the people of the earth who care about our children's future and the next generations, and begin to create the biggest network that the world has ever seen of regenerative development experts who are skilled at implementing the local solutions for achieving a productive, compassionate, collaborative, regenerative economy that leaves no one behind. So this is the ultimate purpose of UnityNet, our global unity network. It's as a network of people and organizations supporting the ad hoc international advisory board process of localization of the global goals. So as we finish out here, I'd like to ask everyone to please put their contact information into the chat so that others on the call will have your contact info, especially if you are new to the IGU Summit events and the Global Unity Network. Include your name, organization, contact, email, WhatsApp, social media, websites, whatever you have. I do want to recognize our guests at this point. Our guest speaker today is Patrick Nkoma.
Just a moment, Lloyd. Let me stop recording and then I'll start again.